Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter?
Man, I don't know if I can talk about it with, like, getting into, like, plot points, because it was all stuff like that. I guess my biggest complaint about the movie, I don't know, it's not really a spoiler. It's a movie about Abraham Lincoln, so we know it's about the Civil War.
Wait a minute. You're not going to tell us where they have a big battle at, are you? I mean, that would kind of ruin the movie for me.
It's at Gettysburg.
Adam.
I guess I was just confused how the vampires had anything to do with the war. I think I get what they were going for, but it didn't work.
This whole movie is a case of a book being horribly translated into a movie. All the shit in the movie that you're like, wait a minute, what's going on here? It's all explained very well in the book. All of it. His relationship with her, how it's all really kind of rushed and weird. How is he involved in the war? All that stuff is explained in the book, and it's just brushed over in the film. Just ends up being like a giant ball of suck. Are we completely ignoring the fact that none of that matters? He chopped through a tree with a single swing. At that point, logic took a vacation. He didn't have superpowers. He didn't have mystical training. The guy starts giving him shit, and suddenly he gets so mad that he chops a tree down with a single swing.
Okay, I was fine with that happening in that world or whatever. It's a movie about vampires, and Abraham Lincoln is the ultimate hunter. You can
I agree. And my point is, when he swings that axe through the tree, you need to stop questioning things, because all it's about is him swinging that axe through things at that point.
No, and I'm fine with, like, the fact that that's how the movie went or whatever, like, and I'm fine with the world that it was in, but from a storytelling standpoint, it was really hack and slash. There was obviously, like, it was supposed to be a plot movie. This is harsh, but it felt like episode 1, like there's all this political stuff happening.
Wow, that is harsh. And accurate.
That doesn't get touched on, and it's all this huge story, and it's so epic, but none of it makes any sense, and it's boring, because you don't care.
As with episode 1, the error was in trying to tell the story both ways. It's the jack-of-all-trades syndrome, you know,
Exactly.
jack-of-all-trades, master of none.
If they would have gone pure, this is just an action movie, and it would have just been about him becoming a vampire hunter, and they would have tried to leave out, like, the political crap.
Leave Gettysburg out of it. Leave the Civil War out of it. Make him a vampire hunter. Tell us this awesome story about how he becomes a vampire hunter, and then how that somehow gets him into politics and maybe starts the Civil War, and you could go with that. It started the Civil War. The problem is that it all comes back to the same thing. This is all retelling of the book, poorly done. Number one most important key when adapting a book to the screen is abandoning things that don't work. You know what needs to be abandoned? The entire book needed to be abandoned. This movie should have never been made. No, if you want to make Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter, that's fine. I don't have a problem with Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter. I don't have a problem with Abraham Lincoln jumping around, flipping an axe back and forth. All kinds of freaky kung fu in the 1800s or whatever. I don't have a problem with any of that. What I have a problem with is not telling that story well, and instead telling two stories poorly.
Yeah, I think they shouldn't have meshed the Civil War with the vampires. It should have just been a separate story. Abraham Lincoln lived a secret life, killed a bunch of vampires, and then became the president of the United States.
The problem is
it should have ended at presidency.
It all goes back to the same thing, though. This was a story that was much longer in the book, where they had time to explain all this. You have to choose what kind of film you're going to make it. You can't make it a moving political drama and a blistering action movie. They should have either said, okay, well, what we're going to do with this is we're going to make this the story of how vampires started the Civil War and how all this stuff, and Abraham Lincoln was a vampire hunter, but make it a period piece. Make him a secret vampire hunter who hunts vampires in a realistic manner. He stakes them in their coffins at night, or something like that. Not a wanted action movie. And the truth is, that is a little more true to the original story. And if you're going to make it a wanted action movie, just go with that and leave all that political out of it. Or better yet, make it a sort of light-hearted action movie where you've got the sort of inadvertent comedy of a man living a double life as some sort of action-y vampire hunter and the President of the United States.
If they would have gone like a little Dexter with it. So he's like the president, and he sneaks out and hunts vampires, and his wife almost catches him, and it's fun. It has nothing to do with his political career. Like, how hilarious is that? The President of the United States sneaks out at night and kills vampires.
If you did Barack Obama Vampire Hunter, that would be funny. If you played it that way.
Like the secret life, and he almost gets caught all the time, and it's stressful because he's about to get made, and then it's going to ruin the reality of America.
And Abraham Abraham Lincoln would work because you couldn't do Barack Obama because then he'd have the Secret Service with him all the time. So Abraham Lincoln's perfect. He's the big name president, but he's pre-Secret Service, or if the Secret Service was around back then, it wasn't what it is today.
Make it an awesome action movie, double life thing. Leave the politics out of it. That like weird meshing of the politics with the vampire, it just didn't make any sense. Well, it made sense, but it didn't make sense for the film.
It could have made sense in a 3-hour movie, I suppose.
Yeah.
And this wasn't a 3-hour movie, and this wasn't handled with subtlety.
There was nothing subtle about it. It was like, we're going to make this a political drama, a vengeance commentary, and wanted action movie, and like none of them. The action actually was the best thing about it. They should have just gone with it. Like,
no, it was.
It was a lot like Wanted. Only Wanted was fun because it didn't have all this story. It was like the same story as Wanted. His development, him learning about some mystical power that doesn't really make any sense kind of thing.
But that movie had the to just be a ridiculous action movie, and this movie didn't.
The weird thing about it is this movie was never supposed to be a ridiculous action movie. It was supposed to be subtle vampire killing. He's never supposed to go toe-to-toe with these things ever. They just shoehorned all that in there.
Well, when you bring on Timur Blah Blah as a director, that's just what it's going to become. That's what he does. That's all he does.
I don't know, man. I feel like that movie sucked.
I think there were elements to it that could have gone well.
Was there anything you guys can think of that you did like about this movie?
The action was good. The action was Zack Snyder good.
Yeah, it looked really awesome, but it didn't fit the context of the movie. It's like a song with really great lines, and they don't make any sense.
Like a really poorly constructed work that looks cool. The guy who they got to play Lincoln, I think, did a good job, but he was working with
Not to mention the fact that the older he gets, the more waxy his face started to look.
He looked like a cross between Liam Neeson and the guy from Nip Tuck.
Yeah, he did. That's true.
The whole movie was awkward. Like, every transition was just weird and awkward. And, like, the tree chopping scene, I mean, how weird was that? It was just stupid. It was just stupid.
It was a stupid movie.
It was a stupid movie.
Stupid, I think, is the byword for this movie.
That being said, though, I would read the book. It really is a good book.
Okay, well, I will take the recommendation for the book because you say it's nothing like the movie.
Yeah.
If you were like, yeah, they stuck pretty close to the book, but they just didn't do a good job, I'd say the book.
Yeah, seriously.
If the book was even remotely close to this, it's a piece of garbage. The movie's not garbage, like to the point where it wasn't Battleship, I'll say that.
It wasn't totally horrible,
But it wasn't even Snow White and the Huntsman.
Well, because Snow White and the Huntsman you could recommend to certain people. This movie, like, I could see it being very boring for, like, action movie fans.
And the steampunk idea of Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter is totally lost in the action.
Like we said, if they'd have just chosen a proper direction.
You could say it 1,000 different ways, but the baseline issue is this movie didn't know what it wanted to be.
They have like a really big buzz going about this movie. Obviously, most of it was because of the name. Like, you got something as ridiculous as Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter. But there were a ton of people who read the book and who were really stoked about this movie. And I guarantee you, all of those diehard fans of the book are going to hate this movie.
This movie is the opposite of the perfect movie. When I say our scale of Battleship to 10, 10 being a perfect movie is one that knows exactly what it wants to be and goes after it and never deviates, never tries to be all things to all people.
And cuts out everything that it doesn't need to be.
Exactly. It pares back everything that doesn't need to be there. This movie is the exact opposite. It puts in everything that doesn't need to be there, has no direction, does not have any level of purity to it whatsoever. It's just this big, awful amalgam of ideas thrown together with no clear direction.
I think visually is the only thing that I liked about it.
Yeah, the visuals were
3D,
good.
the action.
I didn't like the CG at all. That scene with the horse stampede, it was horrible. Like,
all right.
I'm not going to say it was well animated, but like the action was well choreographed.
A lot of the art direction decisions I kind of like. The way they went with lighting so that it looks like kind of this nostalgic idea of what the nation might look like by candlelight.
Yeah.
In that sense, it needed to be more steampunk. That's what it was doing in the art direction department. But then it's a Zack Snyder movie in the action department, and then it's this completely directionless political story in the story department.
I thought it was hilarious, too, how they, like, really, the betrayal, like, they pushed that in so hard, like, with those few scenes of him looking like he was getting hurt. It was strange that they focused on, like, making sure that you thought the betrayal was...
That you saw it coming. That every scene that was going on there
was like, oh yeah, we're setting this betrayal up. So like, make sure you know about this. It was weird. The problem is all that stuff didn't work properly together either. All those different little indicators of the betrayal coming, if you look at them in the context that they were presented, they didn't fit together well as a betrayal story. It's just symptomatic of the whole problem of the movie was directionlessness and an inability of the director to put the story together in a coherent manner.
Ratings?
I give it a 4.
I give it a 3, 4.
I give it a 4 and not a 3 because the action actually was fun enough to keep me engaged for the entire movie. I didn't like it, but I didn't despise it. At no point did I think about walking out or anything like that. You know, I could go 3.5. No, you know what? I have to change my mind. I do want to go 3.5 with that because I was kind of looking at the scale in my mind this week. On the positive side, 6 is okay, 7 is solidly good, 8 is very good, 9 is exemplary, and 10 is perfect. So if you take the opposite side of that, this movie wasn't just kind of crap. It was crap.
Yeah, it was crap.
Yeah, I'll go 3. It was solidly crap.
I think this movie was just nothing but one scene after another that was just awkward, weird, uninteresting. I mean, the entire movie made me uncomfortable, start to finish. I was just embarrassed for the people that were like involved with it. So
you might want to go 2 then.
Yeah, no, I'm seriously considering it. Like even the scenes with like his friend fighting with the guns on top of the train. You're like, yeah, this is like cool looking, but where did this even come from?
Yeah, how did this guy who's like going gray suddenly become an acrobatic vampire ninja?
And they never covered
But it was just like everything was like that. Every scene was like that. Every sequence.
It was very poorly made.
It was just... I'm sorry, Timur Russian name. You're a bad director. You just pooped all over this story. You just took a big poop.
Man, I'm switching to 3.5. I think I'm going 3.5 final.
My final's 3.
3. You know, I'm gonna go 2.5.
So 2.5, a 3, and a 3.5. Wow.
This movie sucked.
Don't go see it. Go see something else instead.
Go see Brave.
Learn from our mistakes. Yes, go see something Pixar made.
Yeah.
Oh man, I really wanted to like this movie too.
I want to like them all, but I didn't really expect to like this movie.
No,
me neither.
All right.